All right, board, we're back in the chambers from the shade meeting. Before we adjourn, we need to address 3 items of action. There's an A, B, and C. If we could please take them separately.
Well, or we could do them together. If I could just jump in for a second to explain what we're doing. We are coming back into the public session of the Edler versus Escambia County case. We've been in a shade session. There is a proposal before the board regarding an insurance settlement, and there is a proposed motion in front of the board for if the board is willing to address the matter. Basically, what we have is a proposal for settlement by insurance money for employment-related claims in the Edler case. There would still be some False Claims Act-related claims that would remain alive, and so the matter is before the board to address what it would like to do. It's possible to do these, but if this is what you're doing, then I would suggest.
So, Madam Counsel, you're saying, based on the conversation that we had in the chambers, we would take all 3 of these items together, A, B, and C?
Correct. But we would certainly need to entertain any speakers from the public if there are any signed up, and then we can make this motion. We can do it as one long motion if you wish.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one question. Is there any conversation about A, so that people know why we're going to approve this? Can we have that?
You certainly can add whatever meat to it you wish, other than with regards to the False Claims Act. My recommendation is to not have a public discussion at this point about that, since that remains.
Madam Counsel, the action, this would actually still come back to a BCC regular meeting as well, correct, or is this not?
No.
This would be final action?
This would be final action with regards to the insurance settlement.
All right, one second. Do we have any speakers signed up for this, for the attorney-client session? Okay. All right, board, we have no speakers. I'd entertain a motion and whatever discussion is necessary.
I'd like to speak on that.
Madam. One second. Larry, go ahead. Come up. All right. State your name.
Larry Downs, Junior Plumbing, LLC, because fecal matters. I'm assuming y'all are settling, about to vote to settle the case and let our insurance pay for it. I'm assuming our insurance, may take a hit. We may pay more in the long run. If y'all can, if y'all continue to run this board this way, we may have more cases and claims down the road. So y'all better tighten it up a little bit. Tired of losing all these cases and all of our money. Thank you.
All right, board. I'd entertain a motion and discussion. Or discussion and a motion.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Madam Counsel, I see that we do have counsel here that was, it's my understanding, my understanding that this is the recommendation of the insurance company and all funds will be paid by the insurance company and no tax dollars, correct?
Correct. In this case, there were 2 separate county insurance policies that were triggered. Those have to do with coverage of employment and employment retaliation related claims. In the case, there was an FMLA retaliation claim. Those 2 carriers have a tentative settlement that they would like to proceed with 100% insurance carrier money in order to settle out the insurance covered claims, and that is what is before you this evening. The rest of the case would remain active, and your attorneys will proceed as they've been directed in the shade meeting.
Mr. Chair, based on counsel recommendation and the insurance company, and I certainly am reluctant, but based on their recommendation, I'll move the items if that's the recommendation of our counsel and our insurance
We
company.
need to read the whole thing.
Okay, the insurance carrier settlement, $950,000 in carrier funds for Dr. Edler settlement in full and individual employment FMLA related claims in the case of the United States of America. Rainey M. Elder, MD versus Escambia County. B, that the board accept a written release of new claims from Dr. Edler subject to legal sign-off in exchange for the settlement of the individual employment claims. C, that the board continue the defense of the remaining claim in the case consistent with the board discussion in the shade session. That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Yeah, Commissioner Kohler.
I felt like my arm was tied on this, and literally, because it's married up to the False Claims Act. And $950,000 is a lot of money. It's carrier money. We're getting our butt kicked regularly on lawsuits, and we need a reflection period. But the only reason I voted for this, and I want it on the record, is the totality of the situation could be worse. It could be much worse. And it comes down to a strategic decision for me to stop the hemorrhaging. So, don't like it, but yeah, I supported it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Any other comments?
Well, and obviously, I'm going to vote against this. I've asked over the last almost year period for any backup, any documentation, any proof on these employment claims specifically that anyone on staff acted irresponsibly or in contravention of the law. I've not seen any proof that there has been any employment action taken against this individual that was unlawful. And no one can provide it, even up to today. I've asked over and over and over. This is being conflated with a larger case that's going to remain confidential after today's vote, that the board's going to continue to work to settle. However, we can't, and we've had to settle a lot, you're right. We've had to settle a lot of cases lately, and we get a lot of lawsuits. We're a big organization with a lot going on. But ideologically, I can't reward someone who was a former employee who tried to ruin the lives and the careers of at least a half dozen people with false allegations, all of which were disproved, and none of those folks were convicted of any crimes, and reward this person going out the door. And I understand the totality of the discussion we had back there, and I'm not at liberty to say, but I think these two, and I'm going to say this, I think these two individual complaints should be separated. We have insurance coverage for the employment. We don't have insurance coverage for any false claims. And I think they should be fought individually. I'm going to lose that vote tonight, but I just want on the record why. I never saw any proof, and I don't believe that any exists, that the staff members, past and present, took any employment actions against this former employee that would generate $1 million settlement. And so I just can't support it, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Commissioner Bagash. I'm certainly not trying to convince you to support it, and I'll just tell you, I agree with everything that you said. I'm just taking the recommendation of our carrier because I believe that there's going to be more exposure if there's not a settlement. If it was taxpayer dollars and not insurance money, I wouldn't vote for it tonight. But because it is because it is an insurance company and they are telling us to settle it, is the reason that I'm going to support it. And like you, I would like to know at some point the proof of the retaliation. I would like to know the proof of the violations. I mean, it
matter.
Yeah, it won't, but it may, for my own peace of mind. It's very disappointing to where we are, but as I've said earlier today in the media, sometimes we just have to move on with all different type of things in our life. And so with this one, I'm ready to move on. So that motion stands.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any dissent? Item passes 3-1. Madam Counsel, that's sufficient.
That's sufficient, and
Thank
you
you.
can adjourn the shade meeting at
All
this time.
Client attorney session's adjourned. We're running a few minutes behind. We're going to go ahead and go straight into public forum if there's no objection to that. Seeing none. Board of County Commissioners Public Forum, April 4, 2024, 4:38 p.m. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. Gary Sansing Public Forum is intended for matters not included on the agenda for the upcoming BCC meeting. Citizens wishing to speak to items on the agenda, please sign up to speak to such item at the regular BCC meeting. Speakers, please refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outburst, protest, or any other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the public forum. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairperson to allow sufficient time for all speakers. At the chairman's discretion, the public forum may end 5 minutes prior to the schedule of the to the scheduled start of the upcoming BCC meeting to allow the meeting to commence on time. First speaker this evening is Keith Bowe.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I'm going to speak towards the animus towards District 2, and this has no reflection on our commissioner or any other commissioner here. This has got to do with the decades in which we have not been represented on the Board of Commissioners, and why is the chair and why is the co-chair empty and blank right now? District 2 has held the position of chair for less than any other district for the last decade, and I mean that plural. It appears that District 2 remains in disfavor because the position of co-chair hasn't been filled. This is my observation. If the intent is to wait in line for District 2 to get appointed, it's not going to happen until after the election, and there's no reason to leave it vacant right now. It's contrary to why District 2 didn't assume the position 2 years ago as the chair, and why in the last year it was again shuffled where District 2 should have been advanced. Well, he is advanced, but District 4 repeated its position while District 5, I believe, got moved in advance of the other positions. So I respectfully listened last night to one commissioner explain how all of the district problems were inherited from 3 prior commissioners, all from another district. On the upside, his assurance to me that he is going to be working for a solution with the TPO and Gulf Beach Highway was more than welcome. It's not just the one commissioner holding authority. Looking forward for solutions will resolve the problems of the past. Let's see if I said that right.
Keith.
It's basically, okay, basically, you're a team up here. We need you to act like a team, and we need you to go in order of a position. It's just
Thank you.
the animus. Okay, one last thing I want to close with, that I would like to thank Pam Childers for crediting her team in the previous lawsuit, because it's a team effort, and that's what we need to see up here on the dais is a team effort.
Thank you.
That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. That's your time. Next speaker is Larry Kelly.
Yes, I'm here to straighten out, and I won't show this on the screen anymore because they said they won't let it go on the air. But what Jeff Bergosh told about the text messages is simply not true. What happened, it was going to pave Packer Road, that's the ballpark road. I wanted one lane paved, leave the other lane to where when all that water come off the fields, we'd have a way to drain it and not come on us. I met with Michael Rose, the county administrator, right at that road, and when I met with them, I asked them this. They said, nope, we're paving it all. I said, when you do this, you're going to raise that road up, and all that water coming off them fields is coming to us. And believe you me, we've been devastated. It's going to come to us. So I left. I texted Jeff Bergosh, and when I texted him, I said, I would like to meet with you, the county administrator in Parks, where you'll know what's going on out here. He knew anyway. And so anyway, I'm sure Michael Rose called him. Jeff Bergosh called me, and he cussed me. He said, we're going to pave that road, and that's it. I said, well, in my text, I said, we're going to appeal to the state. I said, because all of the burden you put on the Nathan Road citizens and senior citizens, I said, it's just uncalled for. Then he said, good luck with that. He said, we know them people. And he said, Larry Kelly, you're not going to get to first base with that. And he slammed that phone down. And when he did, he texted me back. And when he texted me back, he said, don't you ever call me again for nothing. And that's a fact. I got all of it, and I've got all of what's done to us. But anyway, what he says is not true, and I've never seen a truthful word come out of his mouth on none of our dealings. None. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman. Okay. All right. Here's what happened. Mr. Kelly called my office dozens. No, you're done. You're done.
Jeff, I'll address it. Mr. Kelly, please have a seat. Jeff.
Called my office dozens and dozens of times, and Wes can attest to this. The dirt road next to his house was putting up too much dust in the backyards. He actually pushed us to the point where Wes had to send the water trucks out to water the dirt road. We did it. We bent over backwards like circus contortionists over and over. And then the buffer zone. On our property, trees and bushes, he was very, very parochial over the buffer zone. So we bent over backwards to keep the buffer zone for Larry. Meanwhile, we're improving the park. And part of the improvements was the dirt road was pitted, it was terrible, and it needed to be fixed. The drainage was always an issue coming off the property that belongs to the school board. Larry knows that. He's being disingenuous when he comes up here and says it's all Jeff Bergosh's fault. The bottom line is we've improved that ballpark. It's better than it's ever been. We got high schools playing out there. We got an adult league. We've bent over backwards, Larry, to assist you. But the bottom line is when you call my office over and over and over, and you are so disrespectful to my female aide in the office, Debbie King Kenny, the nicest woman that I've ever met in my life, one of my lifelong friends, and you are so mean and so arrogant and so obstinate and so caustic that you bring her to tears, you're right. I'm done with you. I bent over backwards to bring the water trucks out when it was too dusty. I kept your buffer zone the way you wanted it. I listened over and over and over. And after my election, you called me and you started to go off on me, and you're right. And I remember Debbie King Kenny saying, I just don't know what to do about Larry Kenny. He's calling us, he's harassing me. He's harassing me over and over. So Larry, you want to come up and say, I've never said anything truthful in my life. Everything I've just said is the truth, and you know it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next speaker is Anita Geinert.
Good evening. My name is Anita Gaynard. I reside on Finley Drive. It's not red, but it's close enough, right? First, I want to point out that our district does not currently have a voting member on the county commission, and I do acknowledge and appreciate Angela Crowley, our district aide, for her hard work and dedication. However, until we have a voting representative, this development should not be allowed. I have conveyed that belief also to our state representative. So why am I here? I'm requesting that you deny the JoJo subdivision, the new plan. It's incompatible in size, density, and character with our existing neighborhood. The Escambia County Comprehensive Plan and the Land Development Code requires the protection of existing neighborhoods. This subdivision will adversely affect our neighborhood. So Finley Drive is right now a dead-end subdivision that has 35 single-family homes on it. They're on large lots. It was established in the 60s, and many of the original residents from the early days, they're still residing here, and they're sitting out here tonight. Our road is a narrow, poorly kept road with more than 50 patches from water leaks. The road drains using the V shape in the middle of the road onto the development property right now. And as for traffic, we have a daily average of 6 trips per house with a daily average of 210 trips per day. So the proposed development is going to use 2 one-acre lots in our subdivision to dump out their subdivision into our subdivision. So they're effectively adding 81 units to our 35-home subdivision using those 2 one-acre lots. So from our perspective, the effective density of those 2 acres is 40 units per acre because I'm going to have 80 more people dumped in my subdivision. We expect 2 homes to be added to our subdivision. Instead, we're getting 81 now. So the previous staff comment said that the development should not come out on Finley, and now we don't have a commissioner, so what they say is, once again, they're going to come out on Finley, and now with the new plans. And we would like to request, of course, that the development exit using JoJo or Westside, not Finley. Oh, sorry. In summary, it's going to increase it. It's going to make the trips go to 696 trips a day instead of 210. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gail Roten. Or Rotten.
Roten, you had it
okay.
right.
All right.
I get called a lot of stuff, but
I understand.
It's
Me as
okay.
well. I do too.
I'm here to talk about the Finley Drive area. I don't have anything written, but my main concern is the road, the utilities, the extra, like Anita said, 696 more cars coming up and down that road a day. The road is not going to sustain it. And I've lived there since I was 17 years old. And I had intended and do intend to die there. And I don't want to have this taken away from me. I don't want my home taken away, and I don't want it taken away the way that I know it. I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. And I can guarantee you that just about everybody sitting behind me feels the same way I do. They want to stay in their home, and they don't want to be pushed out by some subdivision. Those people aren't going to come in and think of our neighborhood. Most of those people, they're not going to come in and look at the neighborhood like we do. Most of everybody that are there has been there for a very long time, or they moved in their parents' house, who's now deceased, and they live there with their children. So it's like one big family. And I might sound selfish to some of you guys for thinking like that. I really don't care. I'll be selfish. I just want to keep our neighborhood like it is. And it's just not going to sustain that type of a subdivision being pushed in to our little area. It's just not going to do it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse to death. I'm sure there are going to be people behind me that do the same thing or say the same thing I do, but we just don't want it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next speaker is Larry Downs, Jr.
Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing LLC, because fecal matters. Y'all gonna hear that for years. I mean, unless, some vengeance takes place, I guess, or something else. Anyways, today's paper, front page, I remember it was back in, this is, the commissioner's retirement plan, unlawful. So if y'all remember, back in 2022, I got a public records request so I could find the video. I watched it before I came here. March 24th, 2022, a little over 2 years ago. And I told y'all what y'all were doing was wrong. Y'all were recusing yourself. Of course, you got a problem with me recusing myself. I get it, Barry. You do the same. You do worse, way worse, but that's okay. The hypocrisy's rampant. But anyways, y'all were accused, each one of yourselves, while the other one voted to enrich yourself so that there wouldn't be a conflict of interest, right? To receive free services from a known vendor. And then we have to pay the other side of the lawsuit, the taxpayers. Now, I get it. Y'all could say, oh, well, Larry, we're paying some of that tax too. But you're subsidized with our tax dollars, so technically not so much. So anyways, I'm asking y'all not to run for re-election. 3 times, 4th time, what's the charm here? I mean, obviously, y'all are interested in your own self-interest and not the people. Now, that's where I have a problem. And y'all listen to me on Douglas Underhill for years. Giddy up, go. Remember that? Now, if I point out the obvious with y'all, what kind of vengeance is going to come down? Let's see. missionobvious.com, over and out.
Thank you. Next speaker is Dee Redleski.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm not here to beat anybody up today. I'm here to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We finally completed the Bayou Marcus Creek debris removal, and the trees are planted, and it looks okay as long as we can keep the children out of there. And now we just wait to see if the creek will wiggle and fill up that area instead of my living room. On to the next thank you. All the staff, Wes, everybody who has worked really hard on the ARPA funding, gave us $1.5 million to study that damn creek. And I am so happy, I'm so proud that you all are working so hard. That creek, if it gets fixed, means my husband and I may be able to stay there. Do you all know what that means? That means an $800 a month house payment versus a $2,800 a month house payment. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, all the hard work that y'all have put in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Chris Kerb.
Chris Kerr, Flood Defenders. B's one of my flood defenders, probably one of the most active flood defenders. She's probably been to more of these board meetings than anybody. So I resound the same thing. Thank y'all. Thank staff for working on that. Also, thank you. You got a couple of agenda items. I'm going to go ahead and mention them. I didn't sign up for them, but car 2-21 and 2-24. 21 is the Wedgewood, $3.82 million, and 24 is $26 million in CDBG funds. Those are grant funds. Well, one thing about grant funds is you got to have skin in the game. In other words, you have to have staff that puts these projects together, apply for these grants. Sometimes you got to have match funding. This morning, I spent most of the morning in Santa Rosa County listening to the subject of impact fees. And I got to listen to the agenda review this afternoon, and you brought up impact fees and traffic concurrency, Commissioner Bergosh. And I think that's something Escambia County ought to consider too, because you got to have skin in the game when you get these grants. That's something that Kerry Smith said over in Santa Rosa County. At 1 o'clock, they had a discussion on having another half-cent sales tax. And I basically told them how great Escambia County's done with local option sales tax since 1992. You're on your fourth local option sales tax, which I think it sunsets in 26. But the interesting thing in Santa Rosa County is they tied the vote for local option sales tax to the impact fees. That'll probably come out in paper, but one thing, you had Finley folks here.
Chris.
I'll close it up real quick, but you have Finley folks here and Wood Run folks. Those are drainage issues in both of those subdivisions, and you got a development coming in the middle. If you had impact fees, you might could fix the stuff around it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Victoria Griffin.
I feel like I need to bring this down a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, pull it.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I live in Wood Run. My home will be directly impacted by the proposed plan for the JoJo Villas. We're not here to stop a development. We want one that is compatible to the area and won't cause harm to the existing well-established neighborhoods. The private holding pond that is planned is 5 feet away from my back fence. Over half of my backyard will be impacted on the backside. The very likelihood of it failing will cause considerable flooding and issues for my property. This will put me at undue higher flooding risk and will cause me financial hardship where I will have no choice but to carry flood insurance. I do believe the county would not want to cause harm to my resident. The county has the pictures of the vast flooding issues in Wood Run due to 3 creeks that run into it. If the project goes forward, homes on much larger lots would be most compatible, and the ground would absorb more of the water, and would be best at a holding pond would be in the center of the development, like a small lake, and this would help not cause my home to be at flood risk. I appreciated that all y'all's work. We miss our commissioner. Thank you. I know you've helped speak on behalf of us too. So thank y'all all for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Next speaker is, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, if I could interrupt for just
Yeah,
a second, I apologize. We have a wildfire near Gulf Beach Highway and Dog Track Road. It is spreading. We have fire rescue on site. There's one neighborhood called Monterista that appears to be in some significant threat from the fire. I just want to go ahead and mention that.
Any casualties, Wes?
Not at the moment, no. However, we do have a house that I believe is on fire.
Oh, wow.
All right, thank you, Wes. Excuse me. Next speaker is Melissa Barber.
Good afternoon. My name's Melissa Barberi, and I'm also a resident on Finley Drive. My husband and I live in his family's home that was built in the late 70s. His parents have passed away, but his father built the home. It's a very special neighborhood to us, and our 7 children are with us there. Our oldest has moved out. But anyhow, this JoJo Villas development is a concern for us because of the traffic that it would bring through the neighborhood. We enjoy going on walks throughout our neighborhood, and that would not probably be very easy to do with our big crew and lots of extra cars that we weren't anticipating with this development. So I would just hope that, as you all did with the last time this particular developer tried to build their last year, to make sure that they're following all of the county policies and comprehensive plan, which says they do have to take consideration of the existing neighborhood, and that would be single-family residence on large 1-acre lots is what we have currently. So I appreciate all of your hard work, and I hope that that will be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lisa Hudson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Excuse me. My name is Lisa Hudson. I also live at 1234 Finley Drive, and I'm here to oppose the latest proposed development of the JoJo Townhomes, also known as the JoJo Road subdivision. I live in a single-family detached 1-story home that's located on 5 acres. My property is directly beside the proposed development. The development property will be located along the entire depth of my property. There will be 7 units along my home's lot and an additional 3 units along my driveway to Finley. Since details of the proposed homes were not required or provided during the development review phase, I assume these will be 2-story properties. I will have the residents of 7 homes staring down at me from their homes. I will be a proverbial fish in a bowl. As for the property buffers, the proposed plans do not show a 15-foot buffer or existing vegetation or a privacy fence located next to my property. Both of these were staff requirements during the last review of the previous development. Our subdivision, like previous speakers have said, consists of 35 single-family homes on large lots. There are 9 homes located on the straight part and 26 homes located around the circle where the proposed development plans are to dump out. Our average density of the homes in the circle is 1.1 home per acre. The proposed density of the homes directly next to me is 6 homes per acre. Other portions of the development are not directly next to me or are higher in density per acre. This is not compatible in size or character with our neighborhood. These same types of structures were not compatible the last time the developer submitted the plan, so I don't know how they would be compatible this time around. Basically, nothing has changed from the previous submission to this one.
Mrs. Hudson.
Okay.
Your time is up.
Thank you. I'll wrap up. Also, we currently do not have a voting commissioner, as been mentioned, for our district, so we do not think that the development should be approved until we do. So I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Next speaker is Jean Brown.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and everyone. I'm Jean Brown of 1475 Finley Drive for 55 years. I oppose the JoJo Road Villas, a proposed development which is a replay of Outpost Bayou townhomes. Both occupy the very same site. Here we are again, standing before you to defend our homes and neighborhood as we have done since February 2022. The DRC ruled that Outpost Bayou was incompatible with the existing neighborhood. The developer appealed, and on March 9th, 2023, the BOA upheld the DRC's ruling that Outpost Bayou was incompatible, ruled and upheld as incompatible with Finley neighborhood. Yet a year later, here we are forced to prove again that this similar project is incompatible. How many times will we have to fight this battle? The current plan has 47 townhome lots, which is 58% of the total 81 lots. What is compatible with Finley Drive neighborhood? Single-family homes on large lots. Designed that way in 1961, that describes the existing neighborhood of 36 residences, with the average lot size being between 1 and 2 acres, with several between 2 and 6 acres. We were assured during the Outpost Bayou phase that only like and kind described above would be considered compatible. No entrance on Finley, life safety entrance only, no construction entrance on Finley. The Finley-Jernigan intersection cannot accommodate the added traffic. This plan is smaller, but still a bad plan for us residents who chose our location for the quiet, peaceful, secure, rural nature of Finley Drive, where we could pursue life, liberty, and happiness. I will forever defend my beloved family home and neighborhood. Remember Finley JoJo. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Next speaker is James. It says Galley. Isn't it James Gully?
James Gully, 121 North L Street. First, I would like to thank 3 county commissioners for supporting an effort that I'm putting together to send 3 kids to Boy State. And that's Commissioner Kohler, Commissioner May, and former Commissioner Bender. At the proper time, I will have these young men report to you and see how well they did there. You know, if they did really well, they could replace a couple of you, maybe. I don't know. But also, I did notice, and the young lady out front wanted to sign me up for about 3 different. Did this time start?
Yeah, you've got about 1:20 left. The computer's not working. I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to say.
But anyway, I know you have this parking thing, ordinance or whatever on the, I'm glad to see that. You know, I think some commissioners noticed that things weren't quite right with the new developments. And if you really want to get an alliance with the city of Pensacola, talk to our mayor, please. Because now all they have to have is 1 off-street parking space. That's it. And the west side is booming. Our streets have turned into parking lots. And, you know, somebody needs to tell them to get right, because they said it was just the urban core, so he expanded it to all 3 CRAs. But we already had the overlay in West Side, and so it's 1 parking space or even 0, depending on the situation. The other thing I want to talk about is Baptist Hospital. Look, I watched them. They bought up all that property over on Brent Lane. They used a downtown law firm. They formed 12 LLCs to buy it and spent $35 million. It is their responsibility. That structure left at Marino Street is their responsibility. Do not bail them out. It's, you know, we don't need to be doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Gully? I want to thank you for the research on my father when my father took down Bruce's Beach, and going down there is very historic and very sentimental to me because my father did that with his hands and pick up trucks and didn't get paid very much money, and it was one of those historic things and the only place that young black people could swim. And for you to research and share that information, I want to publicly thank you.
You're welcome. I know you don't know this, but his daddy tore down Admiral Mason Park. So that's quite a landmark, and for him to get that job at the price he decided to do it for was remarkable.
Oh, he did it for free. Kind of what I'm doing now. But thank you anyway.
Thank you. Next speaker is Eric Sharplin.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Jeff, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I posted it on your Facebook. And I want to say that it seems like you have gotten a lot done for us that the former commissioner, Underhill, said could not be done. Beach access, lakes, and just everything. And the other day, Mayor was complaining about Mike's fake angel, and he was selling out the key for, 4 minutes of bad karaoke. So I got on the mail and I said, well, why don't you give Mike singing lessons and y'all become a duet? And she's, and you know what? I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see you got your petitions in. But yeah, I wish the people on the site could tone it down just a little bit. But I know that she seems to think that, and you can read this on the blog, that Kohler and his wife are out there, collecting signatures for Stroberger. But I told Belle, I said, why so much negativity? Just keep it to ourselves. I mean, let's try to be positive here. I mean, it's going to be a long year, but anyway, that was it. I just appreciate everything you're doing because you seem to be getting stuff done that Mr. Underhill said could never be done. I want to ask you, Vane, what's the thing about the Blue Angels thing being moved to Pensacola Beach? I heard there's a proposal that was something that was brought up on next door, so I don't know what that's about. But anyway, thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, thank you, Eric. All right, board, that's our last speaker. We're going to adjourn, reconvene right at 5:30.